Welcome to Let's Be Well Together podcast. We're your wellness check-in team. Join us each week or when you can. We enjoy exploring wellness concepts and reminding you to make time for wellness. This is episode 158. We hope our territorial acknowledgement improves allyship with Indigenous people within a reconciliation process. We're on the Haldeman Tract, located on the traditional territories of the Neutral, Anishinaabe, and Haudenosaunee peoples. We acknowledge the presence and traditional knowledge, laws, and philosophies of the Indigenous people with whom we share this land.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Let's Be Well Together podcast. My name is Riley, and today I'm here with John. Hi, John.
Hello, Riley.
Today, we are going to be talking about a clean house and what it means to, keep a house clean and what it does for our wellness.
Yeah, which you found kind of an odd approach because we have different experiences. So you're relatively young, and you were saying your experience is you kind of grew up in a house where things are clean, things are in their place. Does that sound right?
Pretty accurate, yeah.
So to you, when I say, do you think there's a connection between a clean house and wellness? You're like, well, yes. I mean, this is my experience, right?
Yeah.
The reason I asked you the question, though, is so I used to have a really messy room when I was a kid. My parents said it was up to me to keep it clean, and they kept encouraging me to, but I wouldn't. And then I initially lived on my own when I was pretty young, and Sheila, my wife, before we were married, would come over and visit, and she'd just be aghast because she likes things clean. Mm-hmm. And I used to think, well, who cares? Like, whatever. And then later in life, got married, lived with Sheila. She keeps a very clean house, and I started to realize that living in a clean house was making me feel better. That just generally speaking, I was in a better frame of mind, and there's all kind of reasons why I felt better. So I now kind of connect keeping your house clean, keeping your room clean, keeping the stuff around you clean. It's worth the effort because in my experience, it does kind of help me with my wellness.
Yeah, I totally agree. In our house, it's kind of the same thing. I mean, my room, I don't want to sound boastful, but my room is always clean, mainly because I don't have a lot of clutter other than the mass amounts of clothes. But right. I feel like when there's, things all over my room or all over the house, I just can't focus on anything else. And I can't get anything done when there's things in my way or things that aren't in their right place. And then, especially when we have company over, my parents like to make sure the house is nice and clean and presentable and smells nice and things are where they need to be. It's an aesthetic thing. Like you want to look your best when you have company over, but also the house is clean. You don't have to worry about it. The effort is done. And once you're done that hour and a half of cleaning, you can just breathe a little easier, I feel like.
I was surprised, though, to find out that what you're just talking about right now, that can actually be a stressor for a lot of people. And so you might be saying to someone, hey, I just want to pop by for some reason. I'm going to pop by and maybe play a quick game, or I want to pop by and drop something off. And you hear this kind of anxiety on the other end of the phone. Especially when it's people like your child's boyfriend or girlfriend and you're dropping by their house or your mom's coming to visit you or whatever. There's a lot of times I realize now that you want to give people a heads up because people start to get worried that they have to get the place spick and span and you're going to judge them when you get there, which is not why we're going over.
I know, it's kind of weird that there's so much pressure sometimes put on that. Not by anybody but ourselves, but right. It's just a small thing. You would think it's almost insignificant, but to some people it causes a lot of anxiety.
But the other thing that I really wanted to talk about, because I've been thinking a lot about it, is when we were chatting about what are we going to chat about in terms of keeping a house clean, you talk about decluttering and that it's important to declutter. And sometimes you have to get rid of stuff that you have. And that made you talk about the sunk cost fallacy, or the fallacy of sunk costs, however you want to say it. Mm. For whatever reason, that just struck a chord with me because I've been thinking about that a lot lately in different contexts. It came up about 5 months ago on something, and I'm just going to explain it for people who don't know what that is. So the sunk cost fallacy has to do with our tendency to follow through with something that we've invested time or money or energy in, even when it's clear that we should just stop, right? So we're like, well, I'm just going to see it through because I've already done so much. And that could be all kinds of things. A really kind of easy everyday example, I think a lot of people can relate to. You're watching a movie and you hate it. you're halfway through a movie you hate, or you're 3 episodes into a streaming series you don't like, and you keep watching it because you're like, I'm just going to see it through to the end, when it's clearly better just stop. And there's a lot more serious examples of finances, like people getting involved in businesses. It's just getting worse and worse. You should just stop. And so I thought it was interesting you brought that up. So like, in what context were you thinking of it in terms of a clean house?
Well, growing up, like we've always done, I would call them like purges almost. Like every spring, every winter, we kind of made it a habit to go through our house and just deep clean, mainly our closets, but just kind of around the room. My brother and I keep a lot of bigger sentimental things under our bed. So sometimes we go under our bed and just clear out all the storage from under there. But when my mom is involved, I'll have a pile of sweaters, say, that I want to get rid of. Oh, but Riley, you spent such good money on those sweaters. Why would you get rid of them? Well, because I don't wear them anymore. But she's right. I did spend good money on them. So sure, I'll keep them because I don't want to waste my money. But what's the difference of wasting my money by throwing it away or wasting my money by letting the sweater collect dust in my closet? Like that's just kind of an example.
I was so bad at that for such a long time. I'm much better now. So this past winter, I did a cleanup of our basement. And like the one example that was just so stupid is I would get all these wires over time. The cable guy comes over, you get cable wire. You get a new computer, you get a new HDMI cable. You get a new keyboard, you get this other cable. You get a printer, you get this other cable. And they're brand new cables, right? So why would you throw away a brand new cable? And when I finally gathered them all together, I had a huge green garbage bag full of cables, none of which I had ever picked up or used or needed, right? So, or big, long HDMI cable. Well, someday I might need this for something. No, never. So I dropped them all off at a local e-waste place and just shook my head. I moved with these things. I moved them 2 or 3 times. It was crazy.
That's so strange. I feel like everyone, has their little, I don't want it, like a collector's item almost. Like you have your wires. I have sweaters. Some people might have books. Other people might have, I don't know, vinyls maybe, where they spend good money on them, unintentionally kind of collecting them. You weren't going out in search of these wires, but you just kind of accumulated them over time. But you don't need them. Like, what purpose do they really serve, But then it's so hard to get rid of them because of the time involved in collecting them and also the money maybe involved in collecting them, the sentimental value, all this stuff. Sentimental value is such a huge thing for me when it comes to getting rid of things. It could be the most benign little piece of thread off of that sweater I wore that one time on that special day, but I'll keep it because it's got sentimental value.
Yeah. And that actually, emotional energy, emotions, sentiments, that's a really big one for sunk cost fallacy too. No, I kept my ribbons from grade school for 28 years. So I'm going to keep them for another 28 years. It's like, you don't need those ribbons. They're not going to do anything. So I'm getting better now where I'm at the point where if I haven't looked at something in X number of years, if I haven't used it in X number of years, I'm not going to use it. And actually one of Sheila's brothers has a really cool approach. I can't do this yet. I'm not this disciplined, but he has a set of clothes. And his rule is if he buys a new piece of clothes, he got to get rid of one. So, if he's going to get a new shirt, which one is he going to get rid of? And that really makes him think twice, before he buys a new shirt to make sure he really likes it.
Yeah, no kidding. I don't think I could ever do that.
No,
I could never do that.
But I am getting a lot better at going through the closet and saying, I bought that. I thought it would be good. I never wear it. It's going to the used clothes store. So I'm getting a little bit better at that.
We're growing. We're learning.
Did you come across any tips or do you have any tips from just growing up?
Yeah, I was doing a little bit of research on this. I've mainly been thinking about it as we've come into the new year, kind of, New Year's resolutions and all that stuff. And one of the biggest tips that I saw online when it came to decluttering and, donating new clothes or your clothes and things like that is the 20/20 rule. So if you can replace it in 20 minutes for less than $20, then let it go.
Okay. And can you think of an example of that?
Yeah, clothes or even small little knickknacks. Like I have a thing where I have so many, little figurines or mementos from vacations and stuff like that, which they do have a lot of sentimental value, but ultimately they weigh down my shelves and they collect dust.
Right.
So if I can replace it, then let it go. Especially just for the cheaper, smaller, space taking things.
I just did this exercise too where I went through and had a whole bunch of pictures and whatnot, and I digitalized everything. And so you can look at a picture of it. And I was thinking at the time, for some of the vacation things, I should just take a picture of this. Like, okay, I don't need this little memento anymore that's been sitting on the shelf just collecting dust all these years. If I really like it, I'll just take a picture of it and look at the picture.
Exactly. Another thing I've learned too, especially when it comes to cleaning out my closet, because that apparently is the only way I can clean my room is through my closet. My mom likes to tell me every time I do it, turn the hangers around. So all your clothes will be hanging backwards. And then by the end of the month or end of the year, end of the season, anything that hasn't been turned the right way means it hasn't been worn. So it should just be gotten rid of.
I like that. That's a good one.
It's an easier one for sure. But then I just get so pissed off that all my clothes are hanging backwards.
And you're like, so then you go through and you turn them the other way just so you don't throw them out.
Yeah, then it's pointless.
Okay, well, we're at the end, but that was great. I do really believe people should, if you don't have a clean house and you've never tried it, try living in a clean house for a couple of weeks and see if you don't feel better. It seems that both of us, it does. So maybe it'll work for you. Guests are giving their time, expanding our minds. Today's interview is in the category of mental wellness. In episode 135, we spoke with Dr. Wade Wilson about the field of mental performance, which refers to engaging our cognitive abilities and skills, which impacts how we think, feel, and perform in the sports and competitive performance context. And Wade and his wife Amanda just launched the online Mentor magazine, which brings mental performance theory to life with expert-driven content. So welcome back, Wade.
Excellent. Thanks for having me. Great to be here.
Dr. Austin Wade Wilson has a number of degrees, including a PhD from University of Waterloo in Recreation and Leisure Studies and a master's degree from the University of Windsor in Human Kinetics with a focus in applied sports psychology. He has a CMPC certification as a certified mental performance consultant, close to 20 years of experience in the field of sports psychology and mental performance. So Wade, I understand your online magazine is just launched, so maybe you could start by just telling us, what is the Mentor magazine?
Yeah, the Mentor magazine is a digital magazine that's going to be published 6 times a year. It's a magazine that essentially is going to bridge the theory to practice gap. It's going to provide athletes, coaches, and parents and their support systems with mental performance insights, covering everything from confidence and resilience to mental skills around self-talk and imagery to stress management, emotional management. It's an online magazine product resource that's hopefully going to be available to anybody that wants to access mental performance content.
When I hear magazine, I think of something I flip through, something physical, but it sounds like this one's entirely online. Is that right?
Correct. We'll kind of give the essence of a magazine. When you click on it and engage in the magazine, there is a flip book feel with the sound and the pages flipping.
Oh, neat.
But essentially, you'll be on your computer, your phone, or your tablet.
Let's say I'm interested in myself for my own mental performance. It sounds like I can maybe go to it, but it sounds like it might also be for people like coaches and others who are helping other people with theirs.
Absolutely. So it'll be for the athlete within us all, or the performer within us all, around anything mental performance related, but also for the coaches, say of minor sports, competitive sport, athletics, amateur sports that perhaps don't have the time or the resources to engage in the mental performance as deeply as they want to, but will hopefully be able to provide some ways to implement and integrate some mental performance into their programs right away, and they can feel confident doing so from the information.
Well, what are some examples? Like, what can a coach do to help the kids on the team perform better?
Like, there's various things coaches can do, from creating a positive environment, creating an aspect of psychological safety amongst the group where performers, athletes can, if they make mistakes, it's, they're not going to be ridiculed and made fun of, so really fostering a positive learning environment in that sense. Other ways are helping athletes, uncover and learn about imagery and visualization and and how they can reframe their self-talk to boost their confidence when they need to, or manage their emotions when they need to, and hopefully create a bit more of the self-awareness within the athletes themselves. So yeah, many ways that coaches and parents and supporters of young performers can help influence and have a good impact on a positive environment.
And I know you work with different people now. Why are you launching this by way of the Mentor magazine?
It's been something that's been in the works for a long time. I've been wanting to provide a resource or product/service, something that is able to meet most maybe associations, athletes, coaches, parents, where they're at with wanting to engage with mental performance, not knowing kind of where to start their journey of learning about mental performance and how it can impact, or how the benefits of mental performance, or how they can assist their young athletes on the ups and downs of the competitive, the athletic career, and just life in general as well. So the magazine is something that thought could be broad-based, but engaging enough for people to want to read and utilize, and perhaps take some of these exercises and implement them into their programs.
Is there anybody in particular it's tailored for, or is it just for all of us? How does that work?
The target audiences are the athletes, performers, and this can be from novice performers to elite performers, whether you're a teenage, younger performer in that cohort, or even a master's athlete, or somebody that still competes, say, in their leisure time in their various events, be that running or Ironman or those types of things. So it's, again, broad-based mental performance. So there'll be things that will be more applicable to, say, a target audience. If there's, for instance, we have a coaching column, like the coaches room. So there'll be articles, every issue tailored to for the coaches, as well for the parents. There'll be feature articles on the topic of the issue, and it'll go through what this topic is, why it's important, and then how we can implement it into our programs. It's broad-based in the sense of the target, as well as the content through the field of mental performance.
One thing we've been exploring a lot throughout is resilience. I'm wondering, like, from the mental performance and trying to get an edge, what are some of the things that come to your mind when you think about resilience and working on that?
Working on becoming more resilient is, learning about ourselves, becoming more self-aware, and understanding how, I guess, where our skill set isn't a fixed thing. It's something that can grow. It's something that we can learn more about and we can continue to foster. So resilience is really, in the big picture, to me, is having that growth mindset, and also understanding that no matter how careful we are, how good we want to be, we're human beings, and we're naturally going to make mistakes in the pursuit of that excellence, or in the pursuit of that endeavor. So resilience is, to me, a perspective of being able to take anything that's coming at me, and understanding that I am going to make some mistakes, but I do have this, I am building the skills and the resources to be able to, accept the obstacles, the frustrations, those types of things, but be able to grow in the same instance, and also be, I guess, grateful for some of those obstacles as well. Resilience is kind of like more of an understanding to me that this is supposed to be tough. It's okay. I'm supposed to grow, and I'm supposed to struggle a little bit.
You've mentioned growth mindset and growth. That's another topic that we've been talking a lot about recently. Part of the idea is we're always going to be changing. Like, we're changing all the time. And so what we've been talking about is if you're going to change, why don't we try and grow? Why don't we try and improve? When you say growth mindset, what are you talking about?
Yeah, along those lines of parallels to what you just mentioned, but also being able to learn from many different sources as well, not just rule out things through, per se, an unconscious bias, but being able to learn from the variety of sources that are out there, and even if the message is something that maybe we don't like to hear in the moment.
An interview is coming up soon about belief systems and the impact on us. And you talk about that and mindset and attitude. Based on what you've seen in your research and in working with people, When I'm mentioning belief system, what I should have said was people come and they need help and they say, I can't do this. I can't do that. They have this belief that they can't do things. And other people come in and have a belief that they can. What is the impact on my kind of belief system, my frame of mind, my attitudes in terms of my performance?
Sometimes there is, but we do have these ingrained beliefs or this lack of efficacy in certain areas that I can't do this, or I can't overcome this, or I can overcome this. I can be resourceful, and I can, maybe adopt the attitude of, say, this is going to be a long-term venture, and I'm going to, break it down into smaller steps. And through that, it's going to take a while, but I can do it. That outright open versus closed mindset is going to kind of set the ceiling on what your performance is able to do. That'll be connected somewhere to your self-esteem in that, and then also the self-efficacy for the specific task at hand.
So just going back to the magazine, is there some kind of issue or problem that you think you can address by putting the magazine out online?
Yeah, I think there's a few things that we can hopefully address or be able to fill that gap, so to speak. One is mental performance in itself is not very well known. Like we've heard you hear terms like sports psychology and these types of things, but mental performance for one isn't very well known. So it's hopefully being able to showcase what mental performance is, what it isn't, but it's also a way to fully bridge some gaps between learning and utilizing mental performance in your day-to-day programs, or if you're a coach or if you're a parent. I guess some of the biggest reasons that mental performance isn't integrated into regular sports programming is one, lack of resources, one, lack of funds, those types of things. So hopefully with this, the online premise is that you be able to access mental performance content anytime you need it or anytime you want it.
Well, I know I never really heard the concept mental performance till I talked to you a little while ago. Now, these are all, to me, when you start talking about it, these are all common sense things I think about. But it's kind of neat to hear that they're captured together in kind of one field and that people are working on it. If there is somebody who'd like to reach out, find your magazine, subscribe, how do they do that?
We're going to house everything right through our website. So www.thementormagazine.ca. From there, there's a very quick couple of clicks away. You'll see a subscribe button. It'll take you right to our subscription shop, or to our merch shop or our magazine shop as well. So everything is going to be accessible right through our website. If readers choose to be subscribers, then they'll have their own login page right on our website that they can go to, and they'll have all of their information, all of their issues, everything right there in one spot.
As you know, we have a question we ask every guest, and I'm going to ask you in a minute. But just before I turn to that, is there anything else you want to tell us about mental performance?
Sure. I could talk about mental performance all day, but it's an important component to performance regimes. Every achievement starts in the mind. It's important to educate ourselves, learn a little bit more about how we can continue to improve and grow in our pursuits. So, managing the mind, managing the body, managing the spirit, it's all connected. And if we neglect one, then we're doing ourselves a disservice in our pursuit of excellence or our achievements.
And as you know, in that context, we ask every guest the same question, where there's many areas of wellness that are important to each of us, but not enough time to keep them all going at any given time. So we do a mini wellness check-in. So, Dr. Wilson, are you currently neglecting an area of wellness in your life? And if so, can you think of even one thing you can do to foster wellness in that area?
Sure. I guess by working on the magazine and getting it to the space it is now, I've been exercising many of the areas of wellness in terms of the artistic, the mental, the intellectual, even the spiritual, in some of the stuff that I've been reading and reflecting on my own experiences. I guess the economic one would be in terms of, just coming out of the holidays and you look at the bill and you're like, ooh, you know what, could tighten up a little bit. There could be some areas that we could be maybe moving some funds from this to that. And so I think it's time for a little economical audit as we head into tax season. So I think it's that one makes sense at the moment.
I think it's a common theme for a lot of us after the holidays. It's like, time to tighten the belt. Okay, well, thanks very much. Good luck. And we're so glad that you were able to launch the magazine. And we appreciate you coming back and telling us a little bit more about mental performance.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for the opportunity to be back on the show. And we're excited that it's just launched.
We love our listeners and thanks for joining us. Please help spread the word about Let's Be Well Together podcast. Follow us and rate us on Spotify, Apple, Google, or your favorite podcast platform. Follow us on Instagram at lets.be.well.together and let your friends know about us.
Move that body like we're meant to do. I came across this post, and it's not technically only a move that body, but it definitely fits in the category. So I thought we could talk about it.
What do you got?
It says, I came across a book that said you need 3 daily wins: a physical win, a mental win, and a spiritual win every day. Okay. I'm like, that's cool.
It doesn't say what they are. It just says, think about it.
No, like under physical win, walking, running, lifting, swimming. So basically,
okay, so it's just giving examples of doing something.
Doing something physical.
It's kind of cool because there's 2 ways to look at that. One is just doing something is a win.
I think that's what they're saying, yeah.
But also there could be a win in doing something. Like, so for example, if I'm doing my HIIT day, that I actually got out and I actually did my 6 times fast and slow. That's a win. What I really like about this, it goes with my experience in life where sometimes you need to do something and it seems insurmountable. It's just not possible, especially if, you have to lose a lot of weight or make a big change in your life. And it's like, I'm never going to be able to do it. By the way, a lot of times people put too much pressure on themselves to do it too quickly. Mm-hmm. If you need to lose a lot of weight, it's going to take a lot of time.
Well, yeah. And wins usually are small, little gains, you don't have to do, like, the win isn't the losing the 150 pounds. It's the small gains.
Yeah. And that's exactly my point, which is the experience I learned is when there's a huge goal to do, I start by setting a small goal.
Yes.
And the reason I do that is because I've learned that if I can get a win on that small goal, and then I can set another small goal and get a win on that, and then maybe one more and get a win on that, I start to feel like I'm on a roll.
Yeah.
And so I can imagine if you get little wins each day, it builds your confidence. You say, yes, I can do this. Mm-hmm. And also, by the way, the big win is achieved by all these little wins.
I agree. And the thing is that if you just don't one day do a little win, it's not like you've totally lost everything. You've already had 3 wins. True. You can keep going. Okay, tomorrow will be better, and win,
Yeah, because that's a good point too. Because if your goal is to try every day to get these little wins in these categories, that's another really excellent point, which is I didn't get a win today. I had a bad day. Mm-hmm. And the answer isn't to throw your arms up and say, I'm never going to try and get another win again. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, today's a new day. What's my little win today?
Mm-hmm. Next win. So what they have under a mental win is reading, writing, creating, or learning.
When I think about that kind of stuff, I often think that when people say win, there's got to be some competition, right? So they can't just go for a walk. They have to walk a certain amount at a certain speed. Mm-hmm. Same for run. And, they can't just read. They have to read so many pages or it has to be the best whatever. Mm-hmm. And again, as my thinking has evolved, as I thought more about wellness, that kind of competition type stuff with yourself and others doesn't really help.
No.
It's good to set goals. It's good to achieve goals, but not everything has to be a goal. Sometimes it's just the experience of it. Mm-hmm. And I've, like I talk a lot about reading lately, how much I enjoy reading, how much it's been helping me. And a lot of times it's just listening to my audiobook as I walk to work. That was a huge win. Mm-hmm. I don't really, nothing happened. I didn't check off a box, but when I got to work, I was more refreshed and I had a better day.
Inspired. Yes, for sure. And I like the learning as a mental win. I love learning something new. Mm-hmm. I find that with my job that there's so much to learn, so much. If I can achieve something or actually do something by myself that I've learned, I love that. So it's a nice win.
Okay. Well, just before we end, what are some of the ideas on spiritual? Because spiritual is always the challenging one, right?
Yes. Okay. So spiritual win, praying, meditating, studying, growing. That's a good one for you, John. Growing.
Yeah. I've talked about that recently. I really believe that a huge part of wellness is always be growing. Mm-hmm. and try and find a way to do that in some positive fashion.
And that's your spiritual growth for the day. So I hope you enjoyed these.
Please remember that we're not providing advice. We hope to inspire you to work towards balance, and we urge you to consult with qualified people if you need advice. The people on the show are speaking in their personal capacities. Their views expressed are their own, and don't represent the views or opinions of their outside contacts, their employers, or anyone else. We try to get things right, but we can't guarantee everything we say is correct, or that the things we talk about will work for you. Let's be well together, and let's be sure to do that in a safe way.
And it's sign off. It's Sheila here with John and Cameron.
Hello.
Heyo.
Hey, haven't seen Cameron in a while. Glad to have you aboard.
Yeah, it's nice to be here for a little sign-off time.
We're collaborating on a little secret project that we won't talk about, but I said, hey, why don't you jump on our sign-off tonight?
Yeah, that's
right.
great. Well, I've had a very rough week. As a driver, we've had a ridiculous amount of snow and cold. So I've had to drive around in the snow and literally cars sliding off the road in front of me. And I'm like driving all over the place. And then I was supposed to go up to Owen Sound to take care of Michael. And it was like the first time that I got to take care of him all by myself. That's my 3-month-old grandchild. I started driving and then total whiteout conditions. I couldn't see anything. And I went through the first time and it'll get better. No. 3 times, that's it. I turned around and went back. But then a few hours later, it got nicer. So I tried again. And so I did end up getting up there, but it's just been a heck of a winter right now. And then I got the flu. So I got that. And then I was doing my last day at work and I just started feeling horrible. And I've been home for 3 days, resting and getting better. And it's just been a down and out flu. So that is a bummer. I don't have great news, but I do believe I'm getting better. I'm feeling much better now. I've been really taking care of myself the last few days, and John has been doing everything. So that's been lovely. And so I was hoping that I could just maybe have the flu for another week and he can cook for me, clean for me for the whole week. But anyways, I am going to try and go to work tomorrow and hopefully looking forward to a great week. And what about you, Cameron? How are you doing?
I'm glad to hear you're at least on the up there. That's good.
Yes.
A little better.
Yes.
I also have been doing a ton of driving. The highlight for me past couple of weeks, I actually drove down to Toronto from here in Ottawa to take in a Leafs game with my dad. And
wow.
We had a great time as a belated birthday celebration from last year.
That is lovely. And did they win?
We certainly did win. The Go Leafs Go. They crushed it, and it was a genuinely really good game. There were a couple of moments where it was sort of edge of your seat, nail bitery. Some incredible saves. A couple of them were so wild they actually blew them up on the big jumbotron screen in the middle of the arena, and showed you the slow mo. And it's so neat to hear the crowd sort of react live to those things. You know.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah, it was a really great experience. Really great time. Other than that, it's been pretty routine for me. Lots of teaching, and things are good. It's been a great, very full and busy, but a great start to 2025 so far. How about you, John? What's going on in your world?
Well, just before I talk about me, Sheila, by the way, is full of baloney. She says she'd like to just pretend she has the flu for another week. She's like climbing the walls. Her being at home for even 2 days in a row, which it has been.
It really has killed me, actually.
Yeah.
So cooped up.
Like that's another thing. Every once in a while she'll say, oh, wouldn't it be nice to just stay in bed all day and just sleep and relax? And 5 seconds later, I'm out of here. So I would like to see you try and stay home for a week. I don't think it would ever happen.
No, I don't think so either. Yeah.
It has been pretty snowy, and I was really busy this week at work, and I had a couple interviews. But one thing that went really well, I'm finally in the groove at the gym on the treadmill. And so this was the first week that all my runs went really well. I'm trying some new stuff on the treadmill, and it's kind of hard when you're switching from outside to inside. And I felt great because this week my intervals went good, my hill run went good, my long slow run went good, and also today I did a kind of a tempo 5K. So that's really good news for me.
Yeah, you're really rubbing it in, John.
Because you couldn't go.
I couldn't even go to the gym. I was like, ah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I made fun of you the whole time I was there too. Sheila can't come. Anyway. So it was a busy and productive week, and I had fun at the gym. So I guess that's it.
Right on.
Okay, well, thanks everybody for joining us. We hope you liked the show, and we will see you again next week.
That is it for today's show. please try and make wellness a priority.
You deserve it.
If you feel the need to talk to someone or ask for help, please do that.
Accept yourself for the person you are.
So long.
Adieu.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Goodbye.